Hey y'all, welcome back. Welcome back. It is me, BrittReacts, and today we're going to react via a kind suggestion. A couple days ago, I reacted to a video and the mention of the indigenous people or the Native American people came up, and someone suggested that I react to this and just educate myself and learn a little bit more, and I'm all about educating myself, all right? It's like my favorite part of this channel. So today we're going to react to a video called What Your Teacher Didn't Tell You About Native Americans. Let's find out what I didn't learn.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country.
Americans are taught that the people who once lived in what we now call America were stewards of the environment. They had
an ancient respect and connection to the land and water.
Disney movies made that their message.
I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name.
No, I don't think Native American hunters gave names to every rabbit in the woods around them. No, that's not a real thing that happened.
Political science professor Wilfred Riley's new book is Lies My Liberal Teacher Told Me.
Ooh.
We've gone into almost this cult-like romanticization of the natives who were great warriors and poets, but I mean, who hunted buffalo by driving herds of them off of 100-foot tall cliffs.
Okay, all right, so this intrigued me greatly because if you're maybe new here, you haven't watched most specifically my Unsubscribed podcast or the Fat Electrician YouTube reactions, maybe you wouldn't know this, but my family and I moved to the Buffalo area last summer. And because of it, we've visited a lot of museums. I also homeschool, if you don't know that. And so we've visited a ton of the museums here. There's so much history in Buffalo. And up in Niagara Falls, there's a lot of history if you go through the museum up there. And we were learning a lot about the indigenous or Native American. And there just is so much I am unaware of, honestly. And it could be because I slept through class or they just simply didn't teach me. I don't know, all right? It doesn't matter. Another topic for another video. But in my I reacted to Charlie Kirk debating with a young person about reparations for African Americans. And in that video, I mentioned that I agree with Charlie's response, but I just loved the conversation. And somewhere in my questioning and reacting, I mentioned that it was really like me questioning, because I've heard like indigenous people, well, one, you know, they have their reservations and they kind of have their own community that they all live on. And I've also heard that like if you file somehow, and I know this because I know someone who's done it, I don't know the verbiage for it, and I don't know if it's all indigenous people, but if you file as like some type of indigenous or Native American person, you are exempt from paying taxes. I literally know someone who's doing it. Like, I know. And that's their business. I ain't got nothing to do with that. But I mentioned that, and people were not unkind, but just letting me know like that's not true. And really, reservations are really just like, it's not so much of a reparation as it's just like the United States was like, here, stay away kind of thing is, and I'm paraphrasing, but that is how all of this came up, and that is where this video was brought to my attention in response to those comments I made. Someone left this video in the comments, and I was super intrigued by it. Now, what I will say is I agree that the Native American culture has been romanticized somehow, just through, I think, the lack of knowledge and the lack of people actually immersing themselves and then going out and teaching other people. And perhaps that is because they're a very tight-knit community, and you know, they still honor their own traditions and forage all their own food and all those things on the reservations, as far as I'm concerned. Correct me if I'm wrong. But especially moving here to Buffalo, I've understood a little bit more. And I can't imagine, right? Like, again, hunting buffaloes is not romantic. It's not soft and sweet and pretty. Like, you've got to be a warrior. You've got to be pretty savage to be able to live a life like that. So I say all that to say, like, it's never been something I thought about, but I definitely agree. Okay? All right.
Government guides for teachers say Native Americans lived in harmony with nature. There was love of every form of life. They didn't kill anything they couldn't use.
That can't be.
That's just objectively untrue. I mean, that would mean no young male warrior, no brave ever killed for sport. I mean, we just know that's false.
I heard that. I believed it.
Well, I believed it too because I was 8.
The best-selling book, Lies My Teacher Taught Me, loved by teachers and students alike.
Riley's new book is a response to this hugely popular book. It correctly points out that American textbooks and media portrayed Columbus simply as a hero.
Land out! Land out! Hooray for Admiral Columbus!
Textbooks ignored Columbus's brutality and enslavement of Indians.
Right.
Columbus himself wrote about his slaves, saying, "Indians make all our food, extract gold from the mines, and perform all other labors." The book was valid, right? Kids were being taught that Columbus is wonderful.
I don't necessarily think your focus should be white and native atrocities against one another in a 6th grade class.
Today, students are rarely taught that natives also took slaves and considered them objects of wealth.
The morality of today didn't exist anywhere in the world until about 60 years ago.
White people.
Morality didn't exist anywhere in the world until about 60 years ago. I don't know. Let me look at when this video was published. This video is 9 months old. So if he's saying 60 years ago, it's like within my grandmother's lifetime. Okay, again, I think this is interesting. This is always an argument I see when slavery comes up, as in slavery in the United States is like, well, we don't talk about the slaves that the black people or the Africans. Let me start over. We don't talk about the Africans that sold each other to the slave trade in America. And it's like, all of that can be valid and true, but they were doing that in their own place, and then these people were brought to a new place. And so if the Native Americans were enslaving each other, and then another group of people came in and kind of did the same thing, it's like, yeah, I mean, I guess everyone's wrong. But like, one doesn't negate the other, I think, is where I feel like, why are we taking that as an excuse to say like, well, maybe it's okay because they were already doing it over there. It ain't okay anywhere. Jesus freed the Israelites God freed the Israelites. Moses led the Israelites away from Egypt to get out of slavery. Nobody need to be a slave. Nobody should be a slave. Like, y'all gotta stop this, like, justifying things because other groups of people were doing it. It's not okay in any form. Like, what? I think overwhelmingly so. We know that in American education, there is a lot left out of books. There is a lot that is I just think there's not a lot of depth when students are being taught. It's very surface level, and so that it's easy for children to romanticize things, especially when you have Disney movies recreating all these things, all these historical events that just seem like, oh, she's singing to a bunny, and it's like,
Day didn't exist anywhere in the world until about 60 years ago.
White people did murder the natives cruelly. What's the harm in sending a counter message?
You don't need a counter message. No one denies that whites and Native Americans killed each other. Sure, in 1970, in some southern schools, people might have been taught a jingoistic view of American history, but the reverse has been true for 40 years.
He says the old myths don't justify new ones, like the ones spread by today's social media influencers.
We know firsthand how to live in harmony with the natural world. In fact, we did so since time immemorial.
In reality, natives manipulated their environment. To make farming easier, they set big forest fires to clear land.
Giant forest fires. You're burning alive hundreds of thousands of small animals, slower running deer. You're probably killing members.
Okay, in this argument, I'm going to say, but just because you're setting, and this is me playing devil's advocate, I don't know enough about Native American culture, but like, I feel like this is something like the circle of life, right? Like, some things do have to perish for other things to survive. And I think, again, that's the circle of life. Certain animals eat certain animals. It's the chain of command. It's the food chain. And so if they needed to clear brush to, like, I just don't understand, like, weaponizing the Native American people needing to do one thing. And so, yes, something was harmed, but it wasn't, like, malicious or, like, let's just kill all the slow deer. It's like, I fear this man may be reaching to make his point that everybody was killing everybody, which, again, okay. But if they were setting huge forest fires, which, I mean, obviously It's not a great thing, but they didn't maybe have the same technology and tools that we have now to clear land. They were doing this, and then they were building land, or building, homes for themselves, or clearing the land to irrigate it. I don't know, whatever. It's like, if these were survival tactics, do we weaponize that as like they were killing, da 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 da? It's like, every time you flush the toilet, or every time you throw something away and don't recycle it, you too are killing something. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm just wondering. It feels like one of those things where it's like, all right, the woke are involved, and so we're just going to excuse everything because we don't like the woke, or vice versa. All right, the right is involved. So it's just like, okay, but are we reaching?
Live hundreds of thousands of small animals, slower running deer. You're probably killing members of other tribes. You're modifying the environment more bluntly.
U.S. government curriculum guides also claimed there was no prejudice, no major wars.
Nonsensical. In the Aztec capital, there were 90-foot towers of human skulls that were brought back from their defeated enemies.
Some tribes even practiced cannibalism, eating enemies they killed.
People saying the absolute opposite of reality. When myths persist despite obvious objective reality, that's an indicator of a kind of brain virus among people who want the myth to be real.
Why does the myth of peaceful, harmonious living among Indians versus uniquely evil oppression by Europeans live on?
All this to me is just downstream from Marxism.
Marxism? Well, it is true that in colleges today, the most assigned economist is Karl Marx.
Oh, wow. I cannot speak to cannibalism. It's not my vibe. But again, I think, right, he just said, like, within the last 60 years, we came to this whole, like, moral clause thing as a people. And I think you have to put context to honor other beliefs and the way the world was at a certain time. And again, I don't know, and I'm not excusing cannibalism. I'm just wondering, like, this is what these people, like, what they did as a culture. This is like what, not just cannibalism, but like every other thing that this gentleman that wrote this book is speaking about. It's like, do we leave space for like intention? Like, was their intention to be this, or is this just all they knew? Like, how many people, I guess, and you can comment, like, do we believe that, like, you have to leave room for people who just, that's all they knew, they didn't know any better, versus people who know better and they still go out and like kill and enslave people? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just always playing devil's advocate in situations like this because I don't know. How do we know? We don't know. We weren't there.
Colleges today, the most assigned economist is Karl Marx. Students are taught that Western values are bad. Critical race theory amplifies that.
White Americans have more because of racism.
Critical race theory is communist theory with the rich man replaced by the white man.
Westerners and white people being so evil. Why is it so popular?
I think that a lot of rich people don't like their father. There is a lot of dislike for our society among people who are pretty near the leadership class.
I think the people who teach these myths mean well. They want minorities to feel included. But teachers should at least also teach that America's sins were not unique. That just about every society had slavery, cruel wars, environmental destruction. The seldom taught good news is that in the last century, the West led the world in making things better.
The Geneva Convention saying that you can't abuse prisoners of war who tried to kill you, the last of those was signed in, I believe, 1949.
Most of the world is getting better. And the much maligned capitalist countries now are largely responsible for lifting people out of poverty and protecting the environment. They ought to teach that.
This was interesting.
And if you want to hear more about how the world is getting better,
I blame the fat electrician for making me realize how interested I actually am in like any type of history. This was a very interesting watch for me. All right. I absolutely meant no offense if I said something wrong or questioned something wrong. This is me reacting and like kind of word vomiting what's coming to mind as I'm watching something. I do not deem myself a historian or someone, I just like to ask questions. So feel free to answer my questions. Again, none of this was meant to be offensive. If I offended anyone or misspoke or misquoted, feel free to correct me kindly in the comments. I am always open to it. And just like this video, if there's something else you want to watch me react to and educate myself or learn something or expand my mind, please leave it down below. All right, friends, go and have the day you deserve. Bye.